Masaweya, forget to be right along. Hey, yeah.
No, yeah.
Hey,
Hey, yo.
Welcome, Friday morning. Today, as you might have not guessed, we're going to be talking about where we've been in the world. All the places we've traveled.
And where you've been in the world.
Yeah, you're going to tell us about it, right?
Yes.
So, we've both been to different parts of Africa in different years.
Mm-hmm. I went, but first, I have to notice, I kept with my word that I was going to do a side ponytail. My hair's
in yesterday's episode.
Yes, in yesterday's episode, which you watched. And so my hair's a little bit long for it to look as 80s-ish as it could. And I'm wearing sideways stripes, because that was an 80s thing. Like, they loved the horizontal stripes. Why? Don't know. But I love the shirt, so I don't care. But so I went to Kenya in October of 2016, so last year. And I went with a group, and we ended up doing a lot of volunteer work. And so we went to a lot of women's centers, and basically we tried to help teach and to support the women's centers in Kenya and this certain city in Kenya, because a lot of the time the women are not treated super great in Africa and in general. And so I went there, and then we went to several orphanages as well, and we gave one orphanage a bunch of school supplies, and we helped this one community build up a well, kind of with like these porous rocks. We put rocks in before, like, there was a freshwater spring that would flow out, and then it would collect all sorts of junk by the time they actually were able to take the water. And plus there was actually stuff flowing out of the freshwater spring as well. And so they wanted to kind of filter it a little bit. So we put these porous rocks in right before it would go past this concrete section. And it was kind of like a mini dam. And so we would put these rocks in, and they were very porous. And so then the water, as it would pass through we'd put in a lot of rocks. And as it passed through, then it would filter out the water, the impurities in the water. So
super fun, super educating, and
I got to run with the Olympians,
because Kenya's like known for that.
with the runners. It's crazy. They could go like 35 miles an hour.
Whatever.
No, I'm not kidding. There was a van that took off.
I can't even go that fast on my bike.
That took off with the runners. And the runners were keeping up and sometimes passing the van. And the van was going about 33. So it was crazy. It was crazy. And I'm all like, I'll catch you someday. And I'm a swimmer. Okay. I'm a swimmer. I could be a runner. Yes. Yeah. I'm not saying that you can't condition your body for a specific thing, but I'm a swimmer because I want to be. I love swimming. And so I was running with them, and I think that it was only 5K, and I think they finished it like really fast. And so we get there, and we have like this mini dance party, and I'm imitating them. And they thought that I was great. They thought that I had moves, and I was just doing what you did. And I was like the topic of all of the Olympians. They thought that I was an amazing dancer, and I was like, cool. I had no idea I could dance. So I might not be able to dance in America, but Africans think so. So,
well, even if just because you're white, they think you're awesome. So it's not really that hard to impress them, because they're like,
but there were other white people, and I was the best dancing white person there. So, and I asked them to make sure. I was just like, is it just because I'm a white person? And they're just like, no. We've seen white people dance before, and we've never seen a white person dance like you. And I was like,
because most of the time they probably don't imitate the natives. The white people don't imitate the natives. So I went to Uganda, which is just southeast.
No, south, yeah.
Southeast of Kenya. Mm-hmm. And it's quite a bit smaller, and a lot of people have heard of it just because there's lots of things that are going on to help
It's
efforts in Uganda. But
it needs a little bit more help than Kenya because there's this thing called the Lord's Resistance Army, which
it
is a
doesn't.
terrorist
It
group.
sound. It's not what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's
It's a terrorist
group.
group. It's a terrible terrorist group. It's like awful what they do, and so they kind of start up in the Congo and they cross through Uganda, and so the refugees
Into northern Uganda.
into
I was in
northern
southern
Uganda.
Uganda.
So they kind of
next to the Kampala, the capital city, for a whole summer with another one of our sisters.
So the
And-
refugees cross over, and so it's like Uganda is the buffer for Kenya from
And
the
Rwanda
Congo.
is right below
And Rwanda.
that.
Yeah,
And
so
that's
Rwanda
even
and-
smaller than Uganda.
It's-
Rwanda's where the diamonds are.
Yeah, tiny.
are. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Rwanda's where the diamonds
So
are.
there's two different war-torn countries, and Uganda just kind of, I mean, they have their own issues too, because that's kind of how a lot of the
But they're kind of the
continent
cushion for
is.
Kenya. So Kenya, while they're not by any means doing great, they're doing better than Uganda and Rwanda, and definitely better than the Congo.
By the way, I want to point something out that seems to be this, people seem to be misinformed about. Africa is a continent.
It's not a country.
Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, those are countries
So
within
I've
the
heard-
continent.
I've heard people say, I've heard people ask, "What's the biggest country?" And then somebody responds, "Africa, duh." And I'm all like, "Yes, Africa
What?
is the
No!
biggest country."
So just a geography lesson for you. So what I did when I was there, actually, I went 11 years ago before I was married or had kids. And we taught.
She went with my older sister, with our older sister. She's even older than me.
Yeah. So the oldest of the three of us and the rest of our sisters too. So so we went there and we taught computer lessons to some of the middle school, high school aged kids. And then we also built stoves because there's a lot of lung disease there because they cook on open fires and then they breathe in the smoke, and it's a lot of times indoors. So they're breathing in the smoke, and it's a very, very low cost stove. I think the cost of it in US dollars is like $3-4, and it's just made out of clay, and you make holes in this big clay slab.
Or no.
Yeah, it's Spanish, horno, and then you put the stuff inside these or on top, put the wood inside of the holes, and then you put like pots on top, and then it cooks, and it's also more efficient because they don't have to use as much wood because there's so
It's clay, and it kind
and
of
it has a pipe to let the smoke out so that you're not breathing that in directly from the fires. Yeah, so we did that, and then we also helped build an orphanage that was really close to one of the schools where we mostly taught. We did lots of other stuff. It was the coolest experience of my life besides having kids, obviously. And
Our older sister ended up staying an extra month.
Yeah.
And longer than her.
And that's where my brother-in-law's from. We met him there, and then he came over here and they got married. And now they have 4 kids. So
And
anyway,
they're
that was,
cuties.
yeah, they are. They're quite fun and adventurous
And cute
in
and-
themselves.
And let's see, aggravating sometimes.
So you've
All
also
kids are at times.
You've
so.
also been lots of other places in
I
the
have.
world.
Oh man, I've been to so many places. I was in the U.S. Navy for 4 years, and I was on the USS Nimitz, and so I had virtually been to Illinois and Idaho and like a couple of.
Well, I've been to
states.
Illinois and Idaho
Yeah,
and Pennsylvania
and
and Florida.
up until the time I joined right out of high school, and so
We've been all over the U.S. before she joined the military.
yeah, we hadn't been in the South so much. Like I don't think we had been anywhere in the South.
I went to Florida twice.
Yeah, you
in
went to
Florida.
Florida, but I got pneumonia that year.
Oh.
So we ended up. I ended up joining right out of high school, and so I went on the ship, and we did some work on the ship for a little while, and then after that, then we went on a big deployment. I was like a tour. And they call it cruise, and I'm like, please don't call it a cruise. This is not a cruise. We're at war. It's awful.
The
It's
food
not a
is
cruise.
not good.
And yeah,
You
the
don't
food is
have
not good.
entertainment.
No. And so we went and we stopped in Hawaii first. So I've been to Hawaii a couple times. And then after we went to Hawaii, then we just kept going east, and we would drop off an hour, wait, which way is it? We would add an hour, lose an hour. It doesn't matter. We were going east. And so we kept on going east, and then we went to Hong Kong, and then we went to Guam, and we went to Malaysia. I don't remember which one of those was first. And then we went up in the Persian Gulf, and we went to Bahrain and all the 7 United Arab Emirates. So Dubai is the most famous one out of all of the 7 United Arab Emirates, although Abu Dhabi is the most wealthy out of all of them because it has all the oil. But it's all run by the same prince, so it doesn't, it's the prince's land. So, and then we came back down, and I went to Perth in Australia, and then we went around the Horn.
Tell them what happened in Australia.
Which part?
When people would see you
and
hear what you said.
Oh my goodness. So if there were blonde white people, if it was like a country like that was the only country that I went where black wasn't the initial color of hair, and brown or tan, very tan, wasn't the initial color of skin. And it was the only country where I wasn't a giant. And so we're in Australia, and all the Australians would walk up to me, and they would be like, or Americans even. It didn't matter. Tourists. I got asked for directions from somebody who was like from Brisbane or Melbourne or whatever, and they would walk up to me, and they would be like, and they would ask me where they needed to go, and I would be like, I don't know, I'm visiting too, and they're just like, hey, you're an American, and I'm just like, yes, I am, and they're just like, you got a funny accent, and they just like would assume that I was Australian. Apparently, this is what Australians look like, because I didn't know, I'd never been to Australia before. But yeah, I look like an Australian, and that was just everywhere I went in Australia. I mean, the whole city. And then we went around the Horn, and we stopped in Chennai, India, and that was the first time that had ever happened on the ship, or the military, the U.S. military had ever stopped. And then the second time, or like the second and a half time, I was at war in the Persian Gulf, and we were just kind of floating around in the Persian Gulf, and I got flown off the ship to Bahrain, and then from Bahrain, because I was getting out of the military. And so then I went to Bahrain, and then I went to Greece, and then Italy, Naples, and then Ireland, and then on to Virginia. And so, or was it West Virginia? It doesn't matter. I went to some other state in the U.S. that I've already been to.
In the eastern United States.
In the eastern U.S. And then on to San Diego, which was where they released me. And then I also went to Mexico in December in 2016. So those are the places that I have been.
Tell us where you've been.
Where have
some
you
of your
been?
adventures. Yeah, we'd love to hear about it.
Yes. Tell us some of your adventures. Tell us where you've been. Some crazy experiences that you had in various different places. I could share lots of stuff about each of those different places, and she could share lots more about Uganda.
Oh yeah, I could.
They're our hearts. They're our family. And so
we're not Mzungus. We're African.
We are. We're African.
That's
We're
what they
Mzungu.
call white people in most of Africa.
Mzungu. Mzungu actually has 3 meanings. It means white, the color white. It means white person, and it means money. Straight up. Money.
So thank you for commenting and for watching
subscribing
this video.
And watching and sharing, and may adventures be in your cards.